Marcus Bridgewater is a social media sensation based in the greater Houston area that teaches people about personal growth and well-being through plants. Known as Garden Marcus, he has hundreds of thousands of followers on both Instagram and TikTok, and he's also the author of the self-help book, How to Grow, Nurture Your Garden, Nurture Yourself. He joins us now to tell us more about his recent released debut children's book, See Marcus Grow. Marcus, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hey, thank you all for having me.
So
You bring a great energy into the room.
Shucks, thank you.
So how does everyday gardening intersect with one's everyday health?
In every way possible. You think about your mind, your body, and your spirit. You need peace for your mind to thrive, and the garden helps you find peace on a daily basis. Helps you, reminds you of resilience and the fact that there's going to be highs and lows, but after the storm, you're going to keep growing. And the more you embrace that and you learn lessons from that, the more peace you have. Well, you also need balance for your body. Being outside keeps you energized. It keeps you moving. It also teaches you that balance comes in many different ways, right? So just being active how you are where you can be is a great way to keep yourself energized. But you also need harmony for your spirit. And each of us has a different way of approaching spirit. But the garden reminds us that the more we work together, the more we grow together because we all share the same soil. So
I love that.
It's deeply intertwined.
I have a bonus stepmother, and she's not a very religious person, but she says that she finds God in her garden.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's what your books seem to be about, that our spiritual, our core is actually so tied to what is out there growing in the real world.
Yes, we are deeply connected to everything living, but we don't think about it very much. And there's an exchange happening all the time, right? You just think about your breath, your breathing. Every second of every day, we're giving and we're taking. And what we give and take, we all share.
Yeah.
And our plants are like cousins. What they give, we take. What we give, they take. There's an interesting exchange happening there all the time.
And so, Marcus, before we get to your children's book, how did you start gardening, and how did you get to this point?
Oh, well, that's a saga and a half to give it to you.
The quick version, because I want to get to the book.
My plant mom gifted me some plants, and she's my oldest friend.
She's a real person.
She's
not
a real
plant.
person,
Okay.
yes. My oldest friend, right, his mom, Nancy, she gifted me plants from her nursery that she'd had for several years, and she was closing that nursery. And I had bought my first house. So this was my housewarming gift, these really exotic, beautiful plants from her nursery. Well, I brought them home. I didn't know much about plants at the time, and I closed all the windows, shut all the blinds, and put those plants everywhere. And within just a couple months, they were suffering and they were dying. Oh, no. And having named them after people I had already lost in my life, I was losing those people all over again.
Sure.
It sent me into this overdrive. What can I do to keep these plants alive? And that sent me on a really epic journey of learning that culminated with me realizing I can't force anything to grow, but I can foster the environment where things want to grow.
That's beautiful. Okay, so now fast forward, here we are, and you have written this children's book. What made you want to get into the children's space and early education?
You know, I was a teacher and an administrator at a private preparatory, so I already understood what it meant to think about the minds of children. I would design, as the technical director, shows for K through 12. So I already had an idea of engaging with youth. And I also was a teacher for a long time. I was reached out to by Nancy Polson, who is a giant in the children's book world. And I didn't know at the time, but she had a great vision. And she asked me, would I be willing to write a children's book? It looks like this would be a great space for the kind of content that I was creating. And I said, sure. I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't put those two things together yet, but I did have solid ideas and content that I was using to teach to people of all ages. And I had already spent time engaging with the youth, put these two things together with her aid, and
And now you have the
Here
book.
we are.
Is it different to talk to children about plants than it is to talk to like the three of us here?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's easier because they don't have as much bias.
It's easier than to talk to the three of us.
Yeah.
So to be clear, the book isn't so much about dig a hole this deep and make sure your roots are loose and plant it and then fertilize it. It's not about
You know a lot,
gardening.
Frank.
It's not. I mean, Celeste does a lot of real gardening.
Well, Celeste talks a lot about gardening.
So it's
We'll
not so
talk
much
offline,
about
Marcus.
Not so
Thanks.
much
Yeah.
the physical
Understood.
part of gardening, but the spiritual part that comes from gardening.
Well, yes, it is a space where they meet. So this book particularly is about a young Marcus going through the garden with his grandmother and learning how similar the two things are.
Life and your garden.
Life in your garden. And so he's learning about himself while he also learns about his grandmother's garden.
How did you come up with the name of the character Marcus?
Oh, man. See, that was a real brain buster there.
Yeah. What's his last name? So give me a couple or three of the real takeaways that are profound.
Okay. Well, just like a plant needs maintenance to grow, so do you.
Yeah.
Okay. Just like a plant needs shelter, so do you. The more we apply love, the more we see growth.
I like those.
Thank you.
Okay, one thing that you do that I need you to come to my house and do is you would get plants that look like they were done from this world and revive them and bring them back.
That is something I spent a lot of time doing.
The joy of doing that different than planting and growing a plant originally.
Whew. You know, absolutely, it is different, but I'm gonna say it's the same kind of difference. It's the same kind of difference that you find in just the love that you have for one child and the love you have for another, right? You love all your children, right? But you love them differently because they gave you different challenges. They engage with the world differently. They had different likes, and you have to temper yourself accordingly if you want to see growth and a great relationship between each of you. So I think of the same way in how I treat my plants from seed and the plants I find who were considered dumpster trash, and they're actually now thriving in my garden.
Are these mostly vegetables we're growing here, or any flowers?
You know, I started, so the plants I was gifted, they were all exotic indoor house plants. I mean, incredibly beautiful pothos and bromeliads and philodendron, things of that nature. Over time, I got interested in learning more about gardening, so I brought in all kinds of different things. So I've brought in vegetables, I've brought in trees, brought in just ornate and ornamentals, right? So I've got all kinds of things in the garden.
Now, Marcus, what do you think are the benefits of parents and educators gardening with children?
Man, I think it's massive. And again, to try to put it all into a small segment, I think some of the big things are reminding us of intergenerational connectivity. We need more of that. And the more we are outside with our kids, the more we're actually engaging in experiential learning, which actually turns into true learning that can then be translated into something applicable in the next situation, even if it has nothing to do with gardening. So I think it's invaluable in that way as a teaching mechanism, especially as phones are destroying attention span. Your cure is a garden, which is going to lengthen it and give it back again.
I'll leave the phone in the kitchen.
I couldn't
And
agree
leave
with
it
you
in
more
phone.
on that.
Marcus,
Absolutely.
to find you online, where do people look?
You Google Garden Marcus, or you go to gardenmarcus.com. You can go to garden_Marcus Instagram, or garden Marcus Bridgewater on Facebook. There's all kinds of places
Hey,
you can
is
go.
your grandma still around?
Oh, unfortunately, we lost her in
Okay.
2023.
Rest in peace. But she lives in your book.
She lives on in See Marcus Grow.
Marcus Bridgewater is a social media sensation known by the name of Garden Marcus and the author of the children's book, See Marcus Grow. Marcus, thank you so much for joining us on Hello Houston.
Oh,
Thanks,
thank you for
Marcus.
having me.
Coming up.